And good evening, Commanders, and welcome to the Lore Tour. So we are here online and all good stuff. So everything working so far, which is fantastic. And thank you for everybody for turning up. It's always good. This is the penultimate. We are the penultimate Lore Tour of the original sequence, at least. We do have an extended tour where we're going on a little bit of a trip, an expedition, but this is the penultimate Lore Tour for 2020. So I hope you've been enjoying enjoying the tour. It's been great fun to organise. Actually, I've been digging into all sorts of stuff and learning about things. It's been good because you can't know everything. You know, you have to. You have to look into things and find things out. So it's all good. But lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. I see the chat's going, which is fantastic. So. So that's fantastic. So, yeah. Well, it's been an interesting week, hasn't it? Some stuff has happened in the world of Elite, in the meta. Whereas I will definitely have to have a little bit of a discussion about that video, won't we? So we'll do that. We'll definitely we'll touch upon that and other things. The happenings have happened. There's happenings going on. So yes, things have been happening. Right, so where are we tonight? Right, you've got to get to, well, at least you don't have to, but you if you want to rendezvous with me, I am right on the edge of the bubble. Right on the edge of the bubble in a place called Mitchell Beacon, which is in the Sigma Pupis or Pupis. Or let's go for Pupis, shall we? Anyway, that Sigma. Yeah, anyway, it'll be on the screen in a minute. Pupis sounds more fun. What can you say? And I'm already in a wing, so which is fun. So the basic reasoning for that, how you get in a wing with me, is you have to be first. So it's kind of random, but I'm in a wing with Dante Blaze. So congratulations, Dante Blaze, whoever you are. Right, full screen focus, there we go. So this is where I am. So if you want to meet us there, we're going to be departing from here to one of the Guardian ruins. I'm looking at myself. I'm slightly transparent. Hang on. I had a few problems with my webcam today. Mucky about with Zoom. Let me just see if I can fix that, because I don't want to be disappearing on you. That's not the plan. Let's have a quick look. Why is that gone like that? I think my chroma screen filter has gone a little bit too lally. I've got to find it. Hang on a minute. There we go. Too many options. Right, let's have a quick look here. What's going on? There, I think that'll do. That's a bit better. I'm ghostly. I'm actually, yes, this is just a hologram of me. I'm not really here. Yes, apologies. The birds are back. Which I know is sort of slightly immersion breaking, but I kind of have to keep the window open, otherwise my study heats up really badly because the PC chucks out quite a lot of heat. And so I have the window open, but the downside of having the window open is that you get these birds at this type of day. Space birds, that's what they're, definitely space birds, okay. Definitely space birds. I had thunder and lightning on one of my streams. That was very exciting, and then my PC shut down, so that was even worse, but never mind. Right, so we're here in the Mitchell Beacon starport. Actually, I'm on the ground, so slightly unusual. We're going to go and learn about the Guardians today, and what they were. I can see a cobra. There we go. There's a cobra flying in front of me with what looks like a Union Jack symbol. So that's really quite cool. So, anyways, that's where I am. So if you want to join us there, feel free. We are going to be travelling a little bit tonight to get across to one of the Guardian ruin sites, so we can talk about that a little bit on the way. So that's good. So anyway, here we go. Welcome to the penultimate Lore Tour. So this is the Guardians. We're going to be doing the Salome story next week, and that's the end of the tour, which I can't really believe. Although we started this back in April, so it's been going a while now. It's June, isn't it? 2 months I've been doing this, which is, yeah, it's a fair bit of work, which is all good fun, but it does take a bit of time. So that's all good. So we will. We'll be concluding the main tour next week, and we're going on an extended sort of field trip, really, I suppose, following that, off to go and see the Zuara, which is the first megaship, actually, which is the one that's kind of in the Salome story, so we'll go and find that as well. So anyway, lovely to have you all along. Anyway, so let's get the show on the road. I'm going to take off and see where we are, see who else is in my instance, because instancing is always fun, right? Right, let's make sure my throttle is approximately, well, not quite, there we go, right, let's get some vertical thrusters, shall we? Let's hope they'll be above me. Hey, there's loads of people in my instance, which is excellent. So here we are, undercarriage up. So this is actually quite a large base, it's quite big here. So I quite like it for scenery, it's quite good. So yeah, so all kind of cool stuff. But anyway, let's take a gentle cruise out towards the sun, shall we? And you can all kind of follow along. I won't go too fast. There we go. I'll make a reasonable speed. We'll get some hyperspace going. Oh, there's a nice, nice moon up there, or another planet. Very cool. So anyway, form up and see how close. Yeah, actually, let's see if I can get my. Woo! What's going on with my ship? Right, hold steady. If I could get to stop moving. Why is my joystick's wandering? I think I've got my. Yeah, looks like it's sort of falling. That's a bit of a nuisance. Maybe I can point it up a bit more. Is that going to help? There we go. Never noticed that to be a thing before. Right, anyway, let me put it on the external view and then I can start talking. And you guys can try and keep up with it. I'm not going to fly too fast. There we go. So let's get that to there. And zoom out a bit. Turn off the UI. That gives everybody a chance for some screenies, doesn't it? So, and I've still got some glow around my screen. Never mind. It's a bit of a nuisance. Anyway, so we will do some hyperspacing. But let's just before we start on the Guardians, it's worth talking about the video, because we've had a bit of space legs, haven't we? We've had some space legs this week. So so that's kind of interesting. So we've all seen it, I assume. My first impressions was new planetary landings with atmospheres. It's like yes. I've said on the stream before, I'm not all that bothered about space legs per se, but I mean it'll be fun. You know, I don't mind doing it. But elite feat, but atmospheric landings. Now, it may not get too excited because it was a barren world, but you know they're not going to put all their best stuff out in the trailers yet, are they? So you know, that's the entree to it. At least there's an atmosphere there. The sky's gone blue, which I assume is sort of like a nitrogen atmosphere, because that's what gives you a blue sky on Earth. But I'm not kind of expecting lush lush trees and things. You know, but we did see definitely improved surface rendering. That looked pretty good, and we did see you know, kind of people with weapons and guns walking around. So I think, you know, improved graphics. Maybe the engine's been improved. So all sorts of stuff like that. That looks quite good fun. Prove once and for all that the elite ships can fly through an atmosphere. Which I know is a question for a few people, so that's quite good. So that was exciting. So Anaconda, which is, you know, obviously one of the bigger ships, that can land on the planet with an atmosphere, so that's quite good. Obvious questions: what are we going to be able to do? Well, you know, there was a bit of blurb on the Frontier forums about what we're going to be able to do with space legs, or Odyssey. We should give it its proper name. Oh, the stream title's gone creative, has it? Oh, that's annoying. Can I change that? I don't know if I can change that now. That's a bit irritating. I don't know if I can. Never mind, my mistake. I think most people know where it is anyway. So yeah, so Odyssey. So now I was kind of a little bit intrigued. Does Odyssey mean there's going to be a bit of story? Maybe there's going to be a bit of story there, because you know, maybe there's a quest or something for us to do. I'm not sure. You know, it kind of gave me a little bit of a vibe that maybe the whole we haven't got Galnet and CGs anymore is going to form something new in the thing. And they did talk quite a lot about the writers are no longer doing that because they're doing something else. So maybe. So so I was cautiously optimistic about it, actually. I think we can't get too carried away with the atmospheric stuff, because I think it will be quite probably fairly basic to start with, but it looks like a foundation that they're going to build on, because if you can get the atmospheres working at different pressures and visibilities and densities and that sort of stuff, and maybe there'll be some new flight dynamics in there for you know, dealing with different atmospheres, and maybe you have to have special ship equipment so you can go into deep high pressure atmospheres. I'm thinking kind of Venus and places like that, you know, for things like that. We haven't seen any weather, so that's a good spot. Is there going to be any weather? No clouds visible in that one, but you know, again, so that's going to be an interesting thing as well. So I think really kind of let's wait and see what else comes along in the trailers, because they promised trailers, they promised dev diaries and all those sort of interesting things. So you know, the hype is beginning to build, right? So I'm you know, once I saw the atmosphere stuff that was there, I was like, yes, let's have some of that. Of course, we don't know. There's walking around on planetary surfaces. It would seem to be a given based on what we've seen. We haven't seen any interior of the ships. We haven't seen any interior of the space stations. Again, is it coming? Yeah, so is it Odyssey as in Homer's Odyssey, as in not Homer Simpson, but in the original Homer, the Greek one? You know, was it 2001: The Space Odyssey? That's a great suggestion, Steve. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know at all, but you know, speculating. I think, you know, there's a great foundation there to build on other stuff. So Frontier's always kind of tried to do incremental stuff, which sometimes is a bit frustrating when they don't go back and add on to some of the original stuff with some increments. You know, we saw that with exploration. Took a long time for that to deepen. But atmospheric planets, seems to be a basic framework there to build those out. That's going to be quite exciting. Probably the same with space legs. Maybe we'll get walking on barren planet surfaces first, and then maybe we'll get some ship interiors, and maybe we'll get planets. And they talk about these hubs as well. And you know, who's to say what those are going to be? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So you know, a cautious thumbs up from me, I would say, at this point in time. So I'm intrigued, definitely intrigued. So I think that's good. Right. So anyway, that's enough of that. So you know, we had to talk about it because it's happened. You know, the happenings have happened. There are happenings going on. But let's get on with the Guardians. That's the topic of tonight's tour. So I'm going to set a course because we're going to take a little bit of a travel out. Now I have changed the destination a little bit because when I reviewed it, I realised it was probably going to be a little bit too far for the sort of 2 hours that we have. And I started doing the jumps. In my ship it would be okay, but I know that some of you will have lesser jump ranges than me, so I was a little bit worried. So we're going to go to a slightly different destination than I had originally planned. It is the one that's on my lore tour, so I updated the website with it. So we are going to head to, where's my notes? We are heading towards I don't know how you pronounce this. Sinufi. I'm going to put it in the chat so everyone's got it. I think it's Sinufi. I don't quite know how these names are generated, but Sinufi. There we go. That's where we're going to. That's where we're going to head. So am I in open? No, I'm in the Drew Wager private group is where I am, which I can, you know, I've got some mastery over in case of any trouble. So that's where we go. Sinufa. I don't know. Anyway, that's where we're going. Okay. So let's. I'm gonna get my galaxy map sorted out. Is that right? Sinufa. Yep. XR. There we go. D11102. Did I get that right? No, I pressed 3 instead. D. There we go. Alright, so people are already on the way, which is excellent. It's not too far away from my ship, so on we go. Alright, it's actually entirely 100% behind us, so let's pull a 180. And it's actually the planet's in the way. So we're going to have to super cruise it. Anyway, now there's lots of ships around. Never mind. There we go. I'm sure there'll be one of those. Oh, well, we're out of mass lock, so that's good. So yeah, so super cruise around the planet. How can you join? Well, if you are in the Drew Wager private group, you've got a chance of being instanced with us. Yeah, who put that planet there? It's entirely in the wrong place. You can choose to fly in any other modes you like. That's the beauty of this, is if you want to fly in open, there'll probably be some people in that mode as well. You can try the Relic private group if you're a member of it, or you can fly in solo, of course, which means you're entirely safe. You should be safe in the private group as well, because we'll deal with any malcontents. What's been beautiful about this, actually, across the entirety of the lore tour, in this private group, we have had zero trouble. So that's really, really good. So I'm just so many ships about, I can't get my frame shift drive to charge. As expected, I've just literally stopped talking about that. So yes, my too long didn't read version of the new thing is you know, a cautious thumbs up. It looks really interesting. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Space Legs FPS, but you know, it's an expansion. It looks good. It looks good quality. I'm very excited about the atmospherics bit. So I think that's going to be good fun. You know, the Odyssey sound of it sounds to me maybe like a little bit of extra lore and stuff might be coming in, maybe a bit of story. Who's to say? But so a cautious thumbs up to me. I think we're going to find out a lot more in times to come. I think, you know, that they've shown us that Space Legs is coming, which is fabulous. I mean, we kind of knew that anyway, really. But you know, so that is something that's definitely on its way. And now we've got a feel for what it's like as well. So I think they're going to build on top of what they've shown us. I think we may see ship interiors, we may see station interiors, we may see more complicated planets, because all we saw was a fairly barren world. The only thing I didn't like, okay, this is me with my science hat on, the only thing I didn't like was being able to see stars in the sky, because that's just wrong, okay? Unless those stars were, I mean, I suppose the only way it could be right is that if those stars were incredibly bright, and we were somewhere where there was a lot of stars that were really bright. But to be honest, you shouldn't be able to see stars in the background with a sun in the sky like that. So other than that, I was really happy with the trailer. It's not so much the atmosphere, bad, Michael. I don't think. Well, I mean, actually, I mean, maybe, well, you know, you may have a point, but from my perspective, if you know, you just shouldn't be able to see them given an exposure. Your eyes adapting to bright sunlight, you just can't see stars, because you know, your eyes are adapted to such a bright environment. You can't see stars when you're on the moon, for example, and there's no atmosphere there at all, simply because of the exposure. It's too bright. So unless that star was really dim, or the stars in the background were incredibly bright, which I suppose is possible, but I suspect not. I think that was done for, you know, kind of to make it look good. Is my kind of thing on that. So, but yeah, other than that, I thought it was really good. I mean, the only thing I thought was a little bit puzzling is I was trying to work out, because normally with these trailers, there's a bit of a story associated with the trailer, isn't there? You know, something's about to happen. Yeah, we saw that with the AX weapons and the, you know, the Thargoid return stuff, and even a bit to it with Horizons. Whereas this one was kind of like, you know, there's two people walking away from a landed Cobra. Okay. As they're walking, an anaconda flies over their heads, which is quite cool. The anaconda lands at a very small base, which maybe is base building, maybe not. Then they sort of come to a ridge, look down on it, sort of almost prime their guns, don't they? As if they're going to attack the anaconda. And then two cobras fly overhead and don't do anything and disappear. And you're sort of left with, so what are those guys doing? Because if they were sneaking up on the anaconda base, then the anaconda guy knows that they're there because he flew over their heads. The two cobras don't seem to be doing anything, so they fly off into the distance and disappear. And the two guys, if they are going to attack the anaconda, kind of lost the element of surprise. So that was my only sort of looking at it from a kind of what was behind it, and maybe it's literally just show us some assets and make sure everyone knows what they are, if possible is. So maybe it was that, but seriously, I was kind of like, what's the story here? I was trying to figure out what they were telling, but Oh, base building is not coming. Okay, so maybe they had to. So I don't know. I'm probably overanalyzing it already at this point. But it was exciting. I think that's the nice thing, is at last we're seeing something. I mean, I know we've got fleet carriers coming in a few weeks, but at last we've seen something that's kind of bigger than anything else we've seen before, and it puts, hopefully, puts Elite on a bit of an even keel with Star Citizen, which is good fun. And it does tease us a little bit with the Frontier description, doesn't it? That we will be able to combine on foot, SRV, and spaceship action all kind of together. So that's, you know, that's exciting, right? So that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. So anyway, Guardians. enough of the future. Enough. We've got to talk about the past. Now, the Guardians. Okay. Now, Guardians are what I would sort of refer to as new lore. Okay, new lore. And the reason I call it new lore is because it didn't exist in any of the previous games. Okay, so the Guardians are absolutely unique to Elite Dangerous. They are lore that has been added to the universe of Elite post the post the previous games. There is no mention in the original Elite, surprisingly enough. There is no mention in Frontier Elite 2 or Frontier First Encounters of the Guardians. They are new to Elite Dangerous. They were created for Elite Dangerous. They're part of, you know, exploration of the galaxy. Now, historically, in the lore, of course, they would have existed back then, but we didn't know about them. So they're sort of new lore. Now, you know, I've been accused on a couple of occasions of, well, you don't like change, Drew. You know, you want everything to be how it was. No, that's not true. I like that the Guardians are brilliant because they're new content. You know, they're things to do, they're things to find out about. We've discovered more stuff as we pull that into space. So, you know, absolutely, entirely happy with the Guardians. Now, what do we know about them? We've only relatively discovered them in the last few years. I believe I'm correct in saying that the Guardians were first discovered by humanity in about the year 3302, and as far as we can tell, they're an extinct race. They're an extinct race. They were around, and they've been a spacefaring race a long time before humanity. Okay, a long time before humanity. You know, millions of years, in fact. Okay, so they are a sapient race that inhabited this area of space, not too far away from where we are, you know, the first time we hear of them is in the year 3302. There's no entries in the lore, as far as I'm aware, that precede that. And you know, I know from a kind of the metagaming experience that the Guardians were brought in after the initial round of lore creation. So I was you know, privy to some of that information for writing my first Elite book. There were no Guardians at that point. Okay, so they've you know, been added to lore in the interim to expand, you know, the universe of Elite, which is fine. That's all really good. Right, so here we are, and we need to go. Where do we need to go? So I'm just going to go into orbit for the moment, and we're going to go from there. So we need to go to planet 1B. Which I'm now heading deep out into space. It's going to be 1A, 1B, I'm guessing. It's that one. There we are. So that's where you need to head to. And I'm going to go into orbit for the moment. Oh look, ancient ruins are already showing up, so that's quite handy. There we go. Let's just put the Super Cruise assist on, because I like the Super Cruise assist. It's really handy for lore tours. Right, so there we go. It's not very far away. Should switch on. Yeah, that's good. So that's you know, they are a new environment. Okay, the new bit of lore that's been added to the game for us to investigate. But what are they really? Okay, what are they in the lore? Now they are a human-like life form. Okay, human-like life form. We've been told about them through a series of missions organised by Ramtar, who is an interesting character himself. And what we know about them, and you know, you can delve into the meta here a little bit sometimes, because you know, we are a little bit constrained in the game, because the only way we found out about the Guardian is just through Ramtar, this guy. And he's been evaluating our data and then reporting back through various different things, and telling us about what has happened. Now, according to him, and we haven't got a particular reason to doubt him, but you know, keep an open mind because you never know. The Guardians are a race of beings who became a spacefaring culture millions of years ago in this part of the galaxy. They're ancient. Look how close that moon is. That's quite a cool sight, isn't it? As long as the supercruiser does not fly us into the moon, we should be good. So it's entering orbit. I do like this bit. I think this is very cool. So let's turn that off and spin outwards. So there'll be a few other people bouncing around. So I'm just going to stay in orbit for a little bit, and we'll go down to the surface in a little while. If I can get that so we can still see the planet and my ship. Would be ideal. Can't get it to go side on. Ugh. There we go. I don't know if I can do that, but anyway, it's quite atmospheric, isn't it? There we go. Well, that'll do for now. I mean, we're going to rotate around and stuff anyway. So they were highly intelligent, a highly intelligent race, and they were humanoid. Okay, they were in many ways very similar to us, which makes you wonder whether or not we are potentially, maybe we are related to them. Perhaps, you know, there's speculation. They had language, they had the ability to communicate, and all sorts of stuff. So they were a highly evolved, highly impressive civilization. Okay, they were extremely advanced. Their technology, at the point at which they leave the story of Elite Dangerous as a life form, their technology is more advanced than ours is now. They had hyperspace technology that was superior. They had a different approach to weapons. They had a different approach to electronics and all those kind of things. They were extremely advanced. They had I like that double moon there. Very nice. You know, they were sophisticated. They were very sophisticated people. Okay, and they were a spacefaring culture that had expanded out from quite a long way. They had, you know, writing, and they had the ability to communicate, and you know, they were sophisticated. So as far as we can tell from the records that we've extracted from Ramtar, they're a biped, so very similar to us, tall and slender, probably a bit kind of taller and thinner than we are, probably from a lower gravity homeworld. They have you know, similar facial features to us, eyes, very small nose. They probably can't smell as well as us, and that's to say the sense of smell, not what they smell like. Very small ears, you know, and apparently they had 4 fingers on each hand rather than the 4 and the opposable thumb that we have. So I presume 3 things and an opposable extra one. And they had apparently a kind of cutting edge down the side of their hands, which, you know, allowed them to cut meat. And apparently they were originally sort of apex predators on their world, a bit like us. And you know, they dominated their planet, and then they became the apex predator, and then that's how their civilization kind of came out. And they're, you know, but other than that, they're rather similar to us. They breathe oxygen, or they did breathe oxygen, and you know, so they had a lot in common with our kind of physiology. So I think that's you know, that's an interesting part about them. Probably in some ways very similar to the way that humanity kind of grew up from apes. You know, we started using tools. They were definitely intelligent, maybe a sort of pack hunting environment, lots of cooperative stuff, and then they go into farming and everything else for those kind of things. But it seems that this happened a long time ago. Okay, a long time ago, way before we were even a life form. Okay, so 1 million years ago plus, human beings don't exist. You know, we're still evolving. So all of that sort of stuff is to come for us, whereas the Guardians are already a spacefaring civilization by that point. They seem to have you know, in some ways rather like us. The Guardians are forced to evolve by changes in their environment. So for us, you know, we are, you know, the out of Africa hypothesis that we have for the creation of humanity. Hardship forces us to expand and deal with new environments. Seems the same sort of thing seemed to happen to the Guardians. Okay, now they had the problem that their environment started to cool. Okay, so they had a climate change problem, but kind of the opposite direction to the one that we currently have, whereas everything started getting colder, and because they're small body mass and they're thinner and less able to cope with temperature changes than humanity is, this was a problem. So this is what forces their you know, their first steps at technology. So they start building shelters, tool use starts to happen, and you know, off we go. The rise of development of a society is kind of on its way, and so that is, you know, they're practical, but they're forced into evolving, and you know, they're making buildings and sheltering from the cooling weather, and you know, that drives the development of language and arts and, you know, all these kind of things. You know, they are, but they're quite homogenous. Whereas with us, you know, we were quite combative. You know, we're by nature we'll fight each other. They generally weren't too combative to start with. You know, they managed their population size and they cooperated with each other in ways that humanity has never shown it's been able to do. Okay, so that was a bit of a problem. Then they get to, you know, they get into farming and they get selective breeding, and they start getting the early technological improvements that you would kind of expect. But then they run into the same problems that we do, really. Population growth is up. Competition for resources becomes an issue, and then they start to have conflict. They start developing weapons, rather like, you know, war on the Earth has pushed forward technology. The same thing happened to the Guardians as well, and this technology boost, you know, favors some areas of the population over others, and you know, the bigger ones prevail. You know, as you would expect, the more powerful ones, the ones with the better technology, the ones with better weapons, and they actually, the first kind of wars are fought with more biological weapons than the ones that, you know, we used in our early kind of wars. You know, we tended to develop swords and trebuchets and catapults and, you know, physical force weapons, whereas they seem to have spent their time developing biological weapons. They when they get to the point where they invent flight, they don't have flying machines. They kind of tend to use things like airships and stuff, and then drop biological nastiness on each other, that starts to muck up their social system. So it all becomes, the whole problem of population control becomes an issue because people are now dying, and so that whole social paradigm where they're kind of all connected together, trying to strive for the common good, all sorts to come apart. Ultimately there's various different clans facing off with each other, and those clans fight, and the mightiest one wins, and ultimately there's a victor to this war, and that then spreads the name, you know, the will of the survivors, you know, they're the winners of history, to, you know, take over the entire place. But at that point they get back into an era of relative peace. Okay, and so the Guardians, as we know it, with a certain amount of technology, are now kind of available. And then they stumble across spaceflight. Okay, they don't like rockets. They manage to use sort of slingshots or kind of electromagnetic catapult type things to get off their world, rather than using rockets, which they didn't seem to want to develop. And so they didn't have anything like frameshift drive or hyperspace at this point in time. They did very similar to what we did, kind of generation ship type capabilities. It seems they launched those into space, colonized some nearby worlds, but it didn't take them long before they also stumbled upon hyperspace and faster than light technology. And that's when we see them do pretty much what we did. They expand, and they had a weird sort of more ecological way of doing things than we did. They didn't want to destroy anything, and they didn't want to pollute anything, and so their technology was always much more sympathetic with their environment than the sort of stuff that we use. So all of their technology is quite elegant and quite interesting. So it's clever. So there's interstellar colonies, and they also managed to have something that we haven't yet achieved as humanity in the world of Elite Dangerous: faster than light communications technology. Okay, faster than light communications technology. So interesting enough about that, it appears that it is possible in the universe of Elite Dangerous to have fast and light communications technology. There is limited bits of it in Elite Dangerous. Even in the lore, there's low bandwidth text connections, which is the explanation for why we can chat to each other across multiple places. We don't talk about telepresence. That's slightly law breaking, but there's a basis for fast and light communications, and the Guardians took this to an entirely different level. Okay, alongside hyperspace technology as well, they had fast and light technology that was beginning to link all of their environments together. So they have a spacefaring culture. They have colonies on multiple planets, and all these planets are linked by an increasingly sophisticated network of interstellar communication capabilities. So rather more advanced than what we have as humanity today. We're still relying on ship-to-ship transport. They could send messages pretty much everywhere instantaneous and do things that sort of way. So they were also embracing things like artificial intelligence and implants in much more sophisticated ways than we as humanity do in Elite Dangerous. So they would think nothing of having an implant in your head that allowed you to communicate to other people, they would have artificial intelligence controlling these networks and making things clever and sophisticated. Lots of virtual worlds and lots of integrated communications and all sorts of things like that. So they were very sophisticated on the communications as well as their travel. Something, alas, that ultimately became their downfall. So that's that's where we go too far. Now it's interesting to talk about that, because in the universe of Elite Dangerous, you may not be aware, some of you will be, but many of you perhaps won't, is that the sapient AI, i.e. fully artificial intelligent AI that's self-aware, has been banned in the universe of Elite Dangerous by the powers that be, and it's one of the only things that the Alliance and the Empire and the Federation, which, as you've seen through the rest of the lore tour, really can't stand each other at all. It's one of the only things they all agree on. And at some point in the Elite Dangerous past, sapient, fully aware artificial intelligences were developed. Something went wrong and they were all banned, and the intelligent AIs were all destroyed, although there are rumours that some of them escaped into deep space and have never been heard from since. Okay, so we don't know what happened. So humanity went there, it went bad, and we we wiped them out. So that's part of humanity's legacy. We don't really know a great deal about that. It hasn't been expanded in any way in that kind of thing. But the Guardians were also heading in that direction as well. The Guardians were all heading in that direction as well. So let's go down. We're going to go and try and fly down to the surface at this point, because we need to investigate a little bit more about the world. So there are some coordinates to head for. I'm going to put them in the chat. Some of you will know this and know where we're going, but I'm going to put them in anyway. So these are the coordinates. This is where we're going to land today, and I need to fly my ship in that general direction. So I'm hoping somebody might already be down there and can send me a beacon, because that would be awesome. F6. Right, let's get my ship back under control. Oh no, wrong button. Right, I need to get out of my orbity thing. Let's shut the throttle down. And there's ancient ruins here anyway, so that's good. Deactivate. Right, so it's probably that one, isn't it? Let's just go there. That's nice and easy, because it's obviously been mapped now, so that's quite handy. Where are they? Ancient ruins. All right, there we go. It's actually in darkness. Must not interdict through. No, please don't interdict me. So let's head down to the surface. Techeron's already there. Awesome, right? So it's going to be a little bit dark down there, which is a bit of a shame. Of course, we can't control the time of day, which is... Have I overshot? I think I have a little bit. Coming down quite a steep angle. Where's my target gone? That's down there. Okay. Ancient Ruins 1. There we go. So anyway, so head down towards the surface. So we're going to have to, let's just see. We might need a bit of a lighting project with all the SLVs. So make sure your lights are switched on your ship when you land, and we'll try to. Oops. Coming out way on top of it. It's actually, we're almost here anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Right, so lights on the ship. Just switch the old night vision on. There we go. Okay, so I can see people down there. That's brilliant. Gravity isn't too bad on this world, so we should be good. But obviously, just mind yourself as you come down. I can see a few ships down there, which is excellent. And we'll explore. These are some ruins. So, alas, the Guardians are no more. At least so it seems. There is a small ending to this story, which leaves a certain number of things open to, I wonder. But there are certainly ruins about. I can see Commander Techeron. I can see a Anaconda over there, which isn't showing up on my scanner yet, but that's all good. There's a crate. I'm going to see if I can land near the entrance. There we go. Let's put the old undercarriage down. Let's just turn off night. Actually, we can see fairly well, so there we go. Just going to head down there. My lights aren't hitting the ground yet. There we go. I can start to see. Whoa. Yeah, don't crash into me when I'm trying to land. Alright, there we are. 200 meters. There we go. That'll do. So actually it's quite atmospheric with the lights of the ships. Someone's got a Guardian fighter. We'll come back to the Guardian fighters in a little bit, actually. There we go. I think I'm looking good for a landing here. There we go. Let's get that throttle back. Okay. So, there we go. Now these ruins, as you can see, are very very ancient. There we go, we're down. Yeah, come back. They're very, very ancient indeed. So, you know, they are covered in, you know, goodness knows how many million years of dust and sand and debris and stuff. Okay, so so actually, in some ways, it's quite nice that it's nighttime here, because it's it's a very bright Guardian weapon there. That's one of the Guardian fighters there, which is quite cool. So that's hybrid technology. That's hybrid technology that you can actually get from the Guardian sites, and you can do all sorts of things with your ship and upgrade it based on Guardian technology. But that doesn't tell us about the Guardians, okay? Now, like I said, they did have superior technology to ours, but they were developing hyperspace, space travel, and communications kind of in tandem. And something interesting happens here. There's a split in the culture. Okay, so there's one side of the Guardian civilization that is absolutely embracing technology, and they're by far the most powerful. Okay, they're by far the most powerful. There's another side that is more religious, a bit more spiritual. Okay, and they are ostracized by the technology savvy people. Kind of not dissimilar again to humanity's way of dealing with problems, the religious group breaks away from the technology group. Okay, and alas, that results in a war. So again, ultimately the religious lot lose, and it's not clear what happens to them. They gradually disappear from the records, and nobody knows where they went, what happened to them, what their ultimate fate was. All we know is that they don't appear to be around anymore. So that's an you know, what happened? We don't know. So there's lots and lots of stuff about the Guardians which is not entirely clear. Which, of course, if you're dealing with an ancient you know, an ancient culture that you're digging up by archaeology, it kind of sort of makes sense, right? So we don't know exactly. Maybe they weren't as technology capable, and so, you know, they got wiped out. But there's a lot of conflict in this piece of time with the Guardians. Right, so I'm going to get out into my SRV. There we go. I've adjusted. Thanks for some tips on some of my previous streams. I've adapted my power configuration so I can keep everything working. And there's Commander Tickeron, just waiting for me. Hello, sir. Good to see you. So you always come out the back of your ship, don't you? So plenty of ships down here. So let's make our way over to nice Imperial Courier. This just general direction over here. So if you're in an SRV, in my instance, otherwise you can just follow along wherever you are. We'll have a wander in this general direction. We'll get a feel for the environment that we're in. Only too far that my ship decides to launch, but it doesn't really matter. Alright, so up here, there we go, and turn to the right, and so we get, you know, first sort of glimpse here of their technology. So there's a lot of straight lines, a lot of sharp edges. These guys did not go in for curves. Okay, they are, you know, they are very, very happy with their sort of their, you know, parallel lines. Parallel lines is definitely a Guardian thing. Right angles, parallel lines. They are. That's what they're into. Okay, sort of Minecraft players. Yeah, I like that. So, you know, everything's very square. They do have some angles. Everything's very sharp, pointy. That seems to be their design ethic. A low poly culture. Yes. Very good for that. They obviously like their geometry. There's lots of regularity, and especially if you look at these things from above, there's a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, that's what they seem to have been very keen on, and you know, that's their design ethic, which yeah, that's kind of how they did. So that's that's a lot of that sort of stuff. In terms of what they could do, so they they have space technology, they have sophisticated communication stuff, and then they allow. But they've got computers and obviously that sort of technology, but they keep going. That's so acute. Or am I being obtuse? When you pull up to an active obelisk, it lights up and stop and listen for a minute. Okay, we'll definitely do that. Somebody said there's an obelisk party going on somewhere, so we'll do that as well. So let me just start moving around a bit, because otherwise it's a bit of a static display for anybody watching. So lots of and you can see that, I mean, that Guardian fighter that's floating above me, which is very cool. You can see that its wings are connected by some sort of weird energy thing. Okay, that's technology that we've taken from the Guardians, which is not something that had been seen in Elite Dangerous until the Guardian technology came along. So be careful not to get stuck on rocks, obviously. So so this is a bit of a maze, but it's trying to find ways through. So I'm going to see if I can find out where this obelisk party is. So if anybody knows, do tell me. I can see people jumping around over there as well. So again, lots of regular constructs, lots of right angles and various other bits and pieces, and they have embedded their computer technology in virtually everything. It's all connected. I can see it. What's going on there? Ships and just lots of stuff flying everywhere. And over here, he found an active one. Okay, right. Where are you? Which one are you? Where's Techeron? I've got. Is that you over there? No, that's me. Where are you, Techeron? Okay, you found an active one. Okay, let's just go and have a listen to this then. Oh yeah, okay, so we get weird sound effects. There we go. Yeah, so that's just a bit creepy, isn't it? It's a bit... what's going on there? Is it some sort of encoding? Some a piece of technology that's a million years old still working is quite impressive anyway. There's all sorts of interesting things like that going on as well. And you need to have a look from my angle. Right, I seem to be... oh, hang on. Okay, let me have a wander around there. I can see people flying around in their SRVs. Let's see if I can get a good look from around there. Let's just turn around. That one's got a glow, which is quite cool. In fact, some of them are glowing, aren't they? So let me just turn around. Oh yeah, there we go. So okay, so yeah, this technology it's got geometric patterns in it. It's clearly still doing something, okay, and it's got weird sounds and all sorts of stuff. So the technology is still alive. It's still doing something, which is quite interesting. So it's very sophisticated. It's very advanced, but its purposes are not. So there we're getting interesting things going on there as well. So let's get clear of that for the moment, and we'll head up over the hill here. So this is these tensions, this AI, this this increase in sophistication, this ability to communicate everywhere, is all straining the Guardian culture. Okay, straining the culture, because some people are okay with it, some people aren't okay with it, and it's sort of widening the gap really between different cultures as part of the Guardian environment and all that sort of stuff. So it's a massive rapid technological progress, and there are people who have and there are people who have not, which is again reading between the lines. It's sort of can I get there? Come on. almost as good as a Jeep. Whoa, slow down. So you've got to be a bit careful flying around here, that's for sure. There we go. So these are quite big structures, and it's not entirely clear what we're looking at here, but it's you know, it's full of all sorts of interesting bits and pieces. So there we are. This is the, you know, more stuff, more of the you know, interesting pieces. So some of them are damaged, some of them aren't. Are these data stores? You know, we don't really know. So all this is going on, and the significant investment that the Guardians have put into their communication technology requires the creation almost of AI to look after it. Okay, so their AI becomes more and more and more sophisticated. On one hand, the technology is improving. On one other hand, there's resistance growing from the religious side as to all these sort of things, and this is what kind of forces, you know, massive schisms in the Guardian culture. And there's a glowing blue thing over there on the floor as well, which is quite cool. So there we go. It's now floating in the air, which is a bit weird. And so the technologies are pushing forward all the time with this sort of stuff, and the AIs become sentient. Okay, they actually become, because of the incredible communication power and the simple the bandwidth and the capability of the computers, the AIs looking after the Guardian technology actually become sentient. And so you end up in a state of another civil war, a second civil war. These AIs are within the communication technology of the Guardians. These blocks that you see around here are still seem to be the essence of that communication technology, still communicating, still functioning even now. And that technology is very sophisticated in communications and has this artificial intelligence layer over the top of it, which become a sort of virtual entity, a life form all of their own, you know, within the Guardian culture. You know, that those wars get worse and worse and worse. Now, the Guardian technology has weapons that are superior to the ones that we have, shielding technology that is superior to the ones that we have, hyperspace technology that's more powerful than ours. They were more advanced. So, you know, from a perspective of will we use the Guardians again, it's quite a good way for us to kind of gamify the, you can have some better weapons if you go and do some quests with the, you know, with the Thargoids, with the Guardians, sorry. So, you know, these things are, someone's got their SRV lodged up there. So, you know, that's quite a good thing for this. But basically we have is a culture here that had better technology than we did, but everything started to go wrong. The different clans and the different factions of the Guardians fought each other, but they tried to fight wars in a peaceable way. It's the best way to describe it. They didn't want to kill each other firsthand. They used robotic AI technology to conduct the wars. So when so their spacecraft and their bombs and their weapons were sort of impersonal, and they wouldn't fight face to face. They would send robotic battle fleets to attack everybody else. So it was all automated. You know, they started off fighting, and then they realised that they were killing each other, and they were losing their own people. So rather than do that, they would spend their time, you know, investing in automated technology. And this second civil war lasted apparently for, you know, maybe 100 years, you know, possibly 100 years. Lots of religious stuff is still at the forefront here. with them honouring the dead and the fallen and trying to preserve things and keep their memory. The technologists win. Okay, the technologists ultimately win, and the religious side of the Guardians is sort of banished to who knows where. That's kind of where kind of where the story kind of takes a sad turn, because you kind of think, okay, well, maybe they've won, maybe okay, there's been cultural clash and all that kind of stuff, and everything is it poised on the brink of peace at that point. But the problem being that the war had done a lot of damage, as wars do, and in some ways a bit of an echo of the war that the Federation suffered on Earth. World War III, as we discussed right at the beginning of the Lore Tour. The Guardians, damaged their environment. Okay, and the only place they could remain and live, their planets, were decimated. So as you can see here, I mean, obviously, because of the limitations of Elite Dangerous as it currently stands, this is an airless world. But according to the way I read it, and this might be slightly off base, but according to the way I read it, is that these planets were once habitable places for humanoid life forms. Okay, now the atmosphere is gone, the ground is parched, the ground is destroyed. There's nothing left here but the ruins of their civilization, as you can see, that's all that survives. That's all that survives. And so maybe these worlds were once habitable, and now, of course, they're not. They are very much just a ruin, absolutely destroyed. A guy in the Guardian fighter is stuck. There he goes. He's off. And so, these automated battle fleets have not only won the war, but they've destroyed. It's very much a Pyrrhic victory, as you've possibly heard me say. So massive capability in terms of weapons, boom, that they've destroyed. Now, massive FTL capabilities, massive powerful shields. All that kind of stuff is going on, and they did employ biological weapons as well. So they were very well versed in biological stuff. They had projectile weapons, they had beam weapons, and they had nuclear weapons as well. All that sort of stuff was happening, and then the kind of final. The final kind of irony to all of this is that those very AIs that they had built to manage their networks, that they had built to deal with all the complexities of running everything, that ultimately becomes their undoing. But before all that, the Guardians have encounters. Okay, they've gone out into space, and they have gone to like we have. They have colonized other worlds, and done all sorts of things that we had done as well. I'm just going to find where's the entry I need on this one. The Guardians also, in their exploration, as they've expanded out, they discover curious organic growths on some of the planets, and they are found to be highly sophisticated organic constructs that create metals with strange properties. There appears, from the Guardian's perspective, to be no indication where this stuff came from, it's the Guardians are somewhat bemused by this, so they investigate this, as you would, very similar to us, and they you know, they start playing around with this technology. They discover this strange biological stuff. Now, you and I know that this sounds vaguely familiar, and of course the Guardians had this problem as well. So the Thargoids, who had seeded planets within this region of space as well, with barnacles, come back and encounter the Guardian civilization. And according to the lore on Guardian and Thargoids, is the Thargoids did attack the Guardians. The Thargoids did attack the Guardians. They went and they instantly basically just went on the assault. There was no effort to communicate with the Guardians, and we're not entirely sure whether that is exactly what the Thargoids have done with humanity or not. As we saw it, we may have been more aggressive with the Thargoids than the Guardians were, but whatever it was, the Guardians found themselves under attack. Now, the Guardians' initial reaction to this is to try and communicate with the Thargoids, and they eventually apparently managed to actually understand the Thargoid communication, which is something that we haven't achieved in as humanity. And it's also another reason, you know, for the problems that come later. They understood what the Thargoids were trying to communicate, but the Thargoids still ignored them. So it didn't do them a great deal of good, having decoded the way the Thargoids thought. And so the Thargoids just kept being aggressive to the Guardians, and so the Guardians had to defend themselves, as you would. So their technology, at least, well, I mean, that's a good point, isn't it, Command Thatcher? That is Ramtar's version of the Guardian's version of events. So you have to, yeah, that's a very good point. Is that, you know, this is the only version of history that we do know. You know, and who knows exactly what happened, because, you know, as far as we can work out from our own history, we attacked the Thargoids first, and so the Thargoids may have been defending themselves. According to what we've deciphered about the Guardians, it appears they were attacked, but again, history is written by the winners, or in this case, history is written by those who lost, but maybe wanted to put a good spin on it. Who knows? It's very difficult to tell. So, you know, this is to a certain degree speculation, but it's the only lore references we have, so that's what we kind of go for. And you know, so it seems that the Thargoids are aggressive to the Guardians. But this was a million years ago, so it gives us a sense that the Thargoids themselves have been around for a long time. Oddly enough, given the capability that they have, the Thargoids seem to have been content to stay in a particular area of space. So, you know, the Thargoids interacted with the Guardians a long time ago, but they don't seem to have moved beyond their area of space very much in that time, which gives you an indication that maybe the way that the Thargoids look about conquest isn't quite how we would, because in a million years the Thargoids should have been able to overtake the entire galaxy had they so wished to do so with the technology that they had. And the fact that they still exist means that they survived, you know, the sociological problems that, you know, the Guardians failed to deal with. So the Thargoids are very long-lived, and they're still there. But they don't seem to have subdued the galaxy for some reason. Okay, so that's an interesting one. So bear that in mind, because there's some other bits and pieces with the Guardians that we'll come to later on that may have a bearing on that. Now, Guardian technology was therefore designed to react and to combat Thargoid presence. So even today, if you bring a Guardian piece of technology anywhere near a Thargoid, the Thargoid gets very upset. So unless you're ready for that, don't do it. Okay. Well, I think that's a good point, actually, Commander SP4H, is you know, maybe the Thargoids consider that they don't need to evolve. Okay, so we are, bear in mind that humanity's always been, you know, we tend to think of progress as being a good thing. You know, there's very little argument in our culture that, you know, things should get better, things should get faster, things should get more efficient, things should get bigger, more powerful, you know, quicker. That seems to be you know, a Homo sapiens thing. Okay, now that's the way we consider. So you know, progress, and there have been long periods with humanity where we haven't made much progress or we've gone backwards. But you know, it's possible the Thargoids have gone, no, the level of technology that we have achieved and the level of control or expansion we have in the galaxy is sufficient for our needs. I mean, maybe the Thargoids have had that conversation with themselves as a culture and determined that that's all they need to do. Whereas humanity is kind of like just keep going over the next horizon, you know, keep expanding, keep overpopulating, keep consuming resources, just consume, and that seems to be our modus operandi. You know, that's the way we think. But maybe the Thargoids, being that much more of an alien culture, just don't do that. You know, they've basically got to a level of evolution and gone, no, that's sufficient. We're not going to go any further. So who knows? That's you know, that's for speculation on what the Thargoids are really about. So the Guardian's AI war machines capability actually held the Thargoids at bay. So Guardian technology was sufficient to keep the Thargoids at bay. Okay, keep the Thargoids at bay. Their technology was good enough, which gives us a clue as to why the Guardians are kind of in here from a game perspective, to give us a mechanism for getting cooler tech that deals with the Thargoids. We have the Thargoids have kind of been pushed back by the Guardians. The Guardians are on a par, but then this massive war starts, this second civil war. So you know, and unfortunately, it kind of breaks the Guardian civilization. On one hand, they've got this religious thinking that means that they've got to honour their dead and do all these sort of things, and they kind of prioritise that almost over staying alive. They get you know, their planets are being devastated, and yet they're still fighting this automated war with themselves, and on occasions the Thargoids too. And yet they've got all this amazing advanced technology. And then, rather like Rise of the Machines in Terminator, so you can see that the writers of this piece of lore kind of were pulling in threads from lots of other sort of sci-fi franchises to sort of mix and match the way the Thargoids work, is those artificial intelligences that were running all the communication networks you see around here, everything that connected the Guardian homeworld to all the other worlds, that gave them their amazing powers and all this sort of stuff, is completely manned by AI. Completely manned by AI. And someone's just mentioned in the chat there locally about the structures in space. Okay, well, those are all part of the same network. Sometimes they're referred to as Monolith Networks, which just seems to be a little bit of a nod to 2001 and that sort of weird alien culture that's in Arthur C. Clarke's novels. That's sort of dark and mysterious, but still functioning after millions and millions of years. So the Guardians built things to last, and there's installations in space. There's installations on the ground. It's all part of this network of communication, FTL communication technology that is connecting all these things together. Some of it's still functioning after millions and millions of years. So they had this massive, universe-wide FTL communications network, and within those structures, within that network, live the AIs. And the AIs become sentient at some point during the Civil War. At some point during the Civil War. And the Guardians have there's a big, okay, well actually that might be a fun place to go and visit actually. So which system is that in? Blade DRWG. If you drop the system here, we can make you take an excursion out to go and visit an installation out in space as well. So I mean, yes, and that's a good point by Commander Thatcher. They didn't call themselves the Guardians. That's just the name that we've given them. But they've got this massive universe-spanning network full of artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence becomes sentient. Okay. And Ramtar's interpretation of what happens next is that in order to stop the war, there we go. I'm going to look it up. Let me just get that logged in. Can we get that? And we've got the galaxy map. Excellent. So let me see if I can log that in. IC2391. I like a little detail. Sector FGX FGX B1-9 9. There we go. So we could fly out there and go and have a look at one of those. Okay, let's do that. I know it's oh, I can't even do that in the SRV. Okay, never mind. Okay, we'll have to do that again in a moment. Let me grab that. Can I copy and paste it? Stick it in a notepad so I've got it later. Yeah, no. Let me just type it in there. So we'll take another little trip out there. I'm going to have a look at a space relic as well. FGX. There we go. FG-X B19. There we go. We'll go there in a moment. So anyway, heading back. Can we take a look at the Relic Tower base before looking up? Yes. If we, if you tell me how to find it, I'll go. I will wander over there. What beacon is this? Ah, yes. Okay. So we'll. All right. So where do I need to go to the actual? Never 2,000 light years in SRV. That'd be a bit mad. Okay, it's out near the regional one. Okay, so we should and swing past there for your EDSM as well if you need to. That makes a lot of sense. So right, so where are we going? Where's the Relic Tower base? Maybe somebody in my wing knows where it is, because I'm not so familiar with the layout of these places. I haven't been here for ages. So where would the Relic Tower base be? Somebody in the chat. Oh, who's near me? Okay. Head and slide to the left. Let's let it down. Up, let it down over there. I can see some SRVs heading this way, so let's wander over his way. It's very rough terrain, isn't it? Oh, don't spin around. There's people heading this way, so there's more. Oh, more stuff. Ouch. That's not the best way to fly your SRV. There's more stuff over there, but that doesn't look like... Oh, there was one up where there was. Is that the tourist beacon? What are we talking about here? Do I think the glowing... I'm not sure what we're looking for. I can see a lot of SRVs. It looks like Close Encounters of the Third Kind over there. Well, if someone's got it, let me know. Otherwise, we'll head back to the ships because we've got about half an hour left. So, oh, it'll just be Ancient Ruins about the ones. Okay, can I locate that on here? I haven't got it. Unless it's out of range. So, that's just over there. I'm not sure where that is. Not to worry. I mean, you guys can look around it whilst Ancient Works. There's one up on the top where we were. Contacts panel, not nav panel. Okay, let's have a quick look over there. Okay. Ancient Ruins, that one. Okay, so that's over there. Okay, right. I've got that. Let's follow me then, folks. It's over this way. 1.1 kilometers away. So let's see what's over here. I can see something. There's a Imperial cutter, I think, over there. Sure, archaeologists wouldn't approve. Oh, that's the Torah speaking, isn't it? Okay, so that's no good either. Where is this tower? Ah, hang on a minute. There's a glowy pointy thing over there. Is that the one we mean? That's what I think we mean. There we go. That's it. Is this one already deployed? I don't know. I think we may have. It's already been triggered, hasn't it? I think that's what we're talking about. So you know, these things rise out of the ground if you trigger them when you get there. So that's quite interesting. So anyway, so head for your ships, guys. We'll take a trip out to the spaceborne thing, and we'll use that as the final. Have a look at the base close up. Okay. That's sort of got. Oh, there's a Guardian relic. Oh yes, it's got markings on it, and they like the colour blue, didn't they? So it's, yeah, fascinating stuff. Anyway, so and shoot the top. Okay, let me try shooting it then. As my gun's not deployed. That's weird. I've not got guns. I don't know. Oh, the top's been shot, that's why. Okay. Never mind. Right, anyway. Worth a visit, these places, okay, if you're not... yeah, there's some language there, which is quite interesting. There's another one that you can see over there in the distance. So it's worth popping out these places when they're not quite so busy, actually, or either pop in solo mode or something. And have a look around, because there's some quite interesting stuff. So head back to your ships, and we will fly out to one of the in-space things, so the sort of final chapter of what happened to make that almost. Where's my ship? Rough terrain around here. Let's get out there as well. So yeah, the final chapter and what happened to the Guardian. So they've fought off the Thargoids, built their technology to withstand the Thargoids. Ooh. Come on, Tars, get some grip. There we go. And you know, managed to defeat their own clan, you know, kind of clan warfare. And yet their undoing is looming straight ahead, which is a very sad end to their tale. Although they've now sort of caused massive damage to their own environments, which is you know, not a good thing. So very much echoing what humanity did to Earth as part of the Federation, you know, beginning story and stuff. So seems to be a common malady that we all have to face. So who's to say? Maybe the Thargoids have got it right. You know, they've maybe decided that yeah, they've evolved far enough. Who knows? So maybe they're the ultimate winners. They've survived a lot longer than anybody else has. So that's pretty good going. And yeah, we've only been a spacefaring culture for, by the time of Elite, 1,000 years. We've got nothing on the Thargoids. So interesting stuff, really interesting stuff. Okay, so let's go to, I'm going to grab it from my notepad. IC 2391 sector FGX B19. There we go. It's not too far away. People are already en route. There we go. Let's go there. Don't think it's too many jumps for me. Your mileage may vary, of course. 6 jumps, that won't take me too long. Off we go into the black. So yeah, so the Guardians are an interesting thing. All we have left of them is ruins. Okay, All of them have left of them is ruin. And there is a bit of mileage with the Thargoids just being space farmers, because all they've really been doing is putting barnacles everywhere, coming back later on to sort of harvest them and find that other people have been interfering, humanity and or Guardians, and so you know, precisely what the Thargoids were trying to achieve isn't clear, of course, but you know, maybe they got some great purpose. It's difficult to say, but the Guardians kind of got in their way. Frameshift drive. I need to get this planet out of the way, I think. Looking at that. It's funny, every time I do this, the planet's always in the way. No matter where I want to hyperspace to, it should be about 50% of the time that the planet's not in the way, but it never seems to be that. Well, yeah, so I think there's good speculation about the Thargoids are so smart that they've decided, no, they don't need to evolve any further. They're as good as they need to be. You know, it's a strange, you know, maybe that's, you know, we've as humanity have never been that, you know, far-seeing to say that, you know, actually no, we don't need to evolve any further. We're good enough. So there we go. Right, we're on our way. Leave the Thargoid ruins behind us, and there are many Thargoid ruin sites, of course, scattered across the galaxy. Now, for those of you into the game, of course, you can use the Guardian technology to unlock various different blueprints, which give you access to frameshift drive boosters, which give you a boost on how far your ship can travel. You've got enhanced weaponry, you've got ship launched fighters, and they've got all sorts of things that you can unlock effectively as part of the game, and give your ship extra boost. Now, particularly useful for destroyers. I think I've got one on my ship actually. Let me just have a quick check. I can't remember if I've got one on this ship. So yeah, there you go. I've done that in the past. There is the Guardian frameshift booster that I've got on my Cobra, a version for the 4 level one, which I think is the biggest one I can put on the Cobra, which gives me a boost of, I think, an extra 9 light years or something like that jump range, which is, you know, is extremely handy to have. So there's some quite good things that you can just do, you know, and you have to kind of look on Inara and EDB and places like that to figure out how to do it, because it's not really obvious in game, but some worthwhile things if you're into jump range and things like that, which I find very useful for exploring, because it gets you there quicker basically. You know, you can put some Guardian technology on your ship and enhance it. Now, does that make you a little bit persona non grata to the Thargoids? Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure if anybody's tested that. Yeah, the Guardian Fsd Boosters is the only one I bothered to unlock. It was the only one that interested me, really. But there are various different things that you can do. Let's slow down here a bit and get my fuel up. Ah! Oh, rats. It's alright, I've just cooked myself. Yeah, so apologies for that, it was really bad flying. I think it's the Guardian cargo, yeah, that seems to really freak them out. So, which is interesting, the Thargoids obviously remember the Guardian War. Yeah, it's like, I've just busted that, it's overheated again. Yeah, I must admit I should turn on the orbit line so I know what I'm doing, but I don't like the orbit line, so I tend to switch them off, but I should really have them. I don't normally crash when I'm refueling, actually. Never mind. It's only a little bit of damage. It'll be okay. So no, I don't recall having any adverse reactions to having the Guardian Fsd booster on board, but it is extremely useful for, you know, giving you extra space. So that's the important thing. And my ship is smoking. Here we go. It's better now. It'll be fine. Everything's alright. Just get enough fuel to... Ah, I've done it again. What's going on? Something slightly odd going on there. Not quite sure why I'm ending up so close to the start at the moment. Bit weird. Never mind. We'll try and be a bit more careful. I'm slowly busting my ship. It's definitely got a golf problem. For those of you, press equals to top log. I can't do it when I'm not in. Does that work? I'm not seeing it. I might have remapped it. I suppose I can switch it on from the HUD, can't I? Anyway, I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, maybe it's back to flight school for me. Yeah, definitely. Oddly enough, I was trying out the training missions today, and I managed to beat all of the combat scenarios apart from the elite one, which sort of pretty much handed me my ass in space. But so that wasn't. Oh, you can't see them in normal space, of course. No. Maybe I'll switch that back on. Normally I'm okay at refueling. I know I've had 2 failures there. It's very like my Golf. So those of you who've been following me on Twitter know that I've been restoring an old Mark II Golf GTO, which has got some overheating problems. So there we go. Yeah, if it had been a wireframe show, I'd be fine. Right, so yeah, I know. Stop sitting far to my ship. How far have I got to go? I think it's too far now, is it? 2 jumps. There we go. I'll be all right. We'll make it. We'll be fine. This is all good. It's all part of the tour. This is how not to fly. Just get enough fuel to do the jump. There we go. So that was fine. It's my ship. It's for the smoke. So yeah. So no, my Golf is a bit sick at the moment. It's we had a small overheating problem with a hose burst, and now one of my core plugs has broken, which is a small piece of metal on the back of the engine which stops the water coming out, and unfortunately said piece of metal is not stopping the water coming out at the moment, so I've got to fix that. But that's all the fun of the thing. So thank you for the offer of the motor crew there, Dante Blaze. I think I'm going okay. I'm going to be alright. No, so we haven't taken the engine out yet. We're seeing if we can fix that by in situ, by dropping the exhaust manifold off. So we're going to investigate that over the weekend, see what that looks like. It's a classic car, so I don't need to fix it by any particular point in time. It's just one of those things. So let's just see the orbit lines. Now, it doesn't seem to do anything, so I may have remapped that. Anyway, we're here now, so that's good. So yeah, so this construct in space is sort of, yes, it's sort of a space router. Or a network switch. It's part of the Guardian's FTL sort of interstellar spanning FTL communications mechanism, still sitting there in space. Did I fly with orbit lines on when I flew a Slemmy? Probably not. No, I can't really recall now. Oh, hello. Now my hyperspace has gone weird. What's happening? This is a little bit... Whoa, okay. What was that? Have anyone seen that before? That looked like an odd hyperspace. Yeah. It was just like, it's just lag. That's right. It's probably because, okay, I haven't used it. Maybe because there's so many people in the system. I haven't seen that before like that. It's the server connection. Okay, well that's there we go. I thought that was something exciting for a moment. I hadn't seen it like that before. Right, so we want the 8th planet, I believe, here. It's the gas giant, this one. So if we head in that direction, I think we should pick it up on the contacts tab. That's where everyone else is going. So is it? I'll follow the wing signal. Other guys are there. We'll get closer to it. Anyway, that's where we're heading, so it's not too far away. Fly it in manually today. That hyperspace always happens when it lags. Oh, okay, I haven't seen that one like that. No, it was very empty, wasn't it? So that was a bit odd. I thought I was going to get the supernova mission again. The thing went red. No, it did look a little bit Doctor Who. So it's just a lot of people here Right, so I'm going to follow Dante's. Let's do that. Dante's wing signal. There we go. That's following there as well. Good stuff. Right. That was the supernova mission would have been awesome. Yeah. So this is quite an impressive thing actually. But as far as I'm aware, this is an in-space artifact of the Guardian's FTL communications network, where the AIs lived, or kind of existed within, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've got to be careful next time I look. Oh, but we found a workaround for that one, Commander JR. Yeah, it's apparently if you can save your game, it'll leave it. So yeah, hopefully. There we are. There's the Guardian beacon. I've got it. So head for the Guardian beacon around world number 8. It's a nice blue gas giant there. Just about to drop in. So again, if we can if we can activate this on the stream, that would be quite cool. So don't activate it yet, because I'm not there yet. Someone's getting past really quickly. Oh, I'm almost there. In fact, I'm in range. There we go. Come on. Now we're getting a bit of lag. You just love peer-to-peer networking. Oh, here we go. We're here. Oh, there it is. Excellent. Right, so there's the Guardian beacon. Okay, so let's get close in there. Well, that took a bit of time, didn't it? So this thing is enormous. I mean, look at the size of it. You can see an anaconda down there. That's Commander Dante's ship. This thing is huge. So I'm just going to bring it to a halt. There we go. Let's look at the animation. So it's doing stuff. Just caught that in time. Right, let's go external. And there you can see down there it doing it's sort of charging up and doing weird stuff. And it's a phenomenally large. There it goes. Look at that. My ship's going to be right in there. And it's still working. It's still doing stuff. That's very large. Yeah. Oh, my ship almost got wiped out. It was very close indeed. And it's doing, okay, you can see the sphere and stuff there. So a lot of the Guardian technology is based around that sphere mechanism. I should really have backed my ship off a bit there, really. And they've got what appears to be some sort of let's hope that doesn't whack me a second time. Look how big that is, how fast it's moving. Okay, so there's no, what's interesting here is there are no thrusters visible. There is no engine exhausts or anything. They seem to have a capability which is, there we go, that's the animation completely. Seem to have you know, some sort of space drive technology. Okay, there are no thrusters visible there. Stuff moves around seemingly without inertia, which means, if that's true, it means that capability is possible in the universe of Elite Dangerous. It's sort of magic tech. Okay. Now we've been told in the lore that there isn't any anti-gravity in the Elite Dangerous universe, but it may be that that's actually humanity doesn't have anti-gravity inertia space drive technology in the Elite universe yet. We haven't invented it. It would appear from what the Guardians have shown us there that it is actually possible to do, and maybe we just haven't unlocked how to do it yet. So maybe there is artificial gravity possible in the Elite Dangerous universe. It's just that humanity doesn't have it right at this point in time. So cool thing to watch, yeah. But it's part of that kind of galactic FTL network, sort of Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi plus plus, which is just amazing, and the lovely special effects that they did there. So I don't know whether it takes a moment to recharge or whether we can see that again, but it was very good. Okay, but in the lore it states that there is no anti-gravity tech in the Elite Dangerous universe. But it seems that maybe that's just humanity rather than it's 8G working. Don't go too close to it, you might get some weird virus, so to be careful. I think you have to charge it up again, so maybe we'll see it again. Now this is all very cool, but of course what's happened is that the Guardian technology is very, very advanced, okay, and their AIs. I'm just going to rotate that around. So my ship, it kind of bugs me. My ship's upside down, which of course doesn't make any sense in space. I know, but that's right. Let's put it. There we go. In case somebody gets it to activate again, yeah, we'll leave it like that. So we'll see what happens. So they've got this amazing technology. They've got a galaxy-spanning FTL capability. They've got all this sort of stuff. Their weapons, their biology, and everything else is kind of super advanced. But they never manage to settle their differences in terms of a culture. They never get to a stable point, and their AIs become sentient. And they become self-aware and able to take their own decisions. And the Guardians have allowed this to happen. And the AIs look at what the Guardians have been doing. They look at the destruction. They look at what the Guardians have done throughout their history, because they have access to everything. They have access to all the communications, all the travel, everything, every piece of data about the Guardian society. And the AIs look at this and go, in order to stop further violence, whilst giving the remainder of society a chance to survive, the AIs decide to destroy the Guardians. And so they do. They basically take over, because everything's automated, everything's robotic, everything is enhanced by AI, and the Guardians' AIs have complete control over all the weaponry. So what happens is that the AI launches an attack on the Guardians, and it's coordinated across, almost with shades of Battlestar Galactica and the Cylon invasion. It's coordinated across every world simultaneously, so there's no chance for the Guardians to take evasive action. There's no chance for the Guardians to retaliate. There's no way to deal with it at all. Looks like it's charging up again. Here we go. There's no way for them to deal with it. The weapon strikes are precise. They're surgical. Here it goes again. This is quite a cool effect, isn't it? Execute Order 66. So it's got shades of all of that sort of stuff in it. So look again. Look at this. These things are moving around in a way that is, defies physics. Okay. So the Guardians are way more sophisticated than we were in terms of in technology. As you can see, they can do things that we cannot do. Goodness knows what capability they're harnessing here. But it seems we can't do much with it. Yeah, we can't take advantage of this yet, so maybe more stuff is to come. But it does look amazing. But it's their undoing. The sentient AI wipes them out. Okay. There's very, very little records of what happened, just a few records. The sentient AIs destroy the Guardians almost entirely. When it starts to fold up again. Enormous structures there. Like you say, still working. It just gives you the size of the thing. The Guardians, as far as we can tell, utterly destroyed. Okay, and this all happens a million years ago, so they're all gone. Now, the question is then, what happened to the AI? What happened to the AI that did all this? And that is a question that isn't really answered. Okay. Another hanging thread. Now there is a small clue. There is a small clue. And I don't know if this is connected or not. This is maybe a little bit of speculation from me. But for those of you who've been following or follow Galnet, there was one extra reference to what may have been the Guardians, or maybe was the AI itself. And I'll leave it with you as a sort of speculation for this one. Is you remember that there was a president of the Federation before our current incumbent, a lady by the name of Jasmina Halsey. Now she was on a tour of a kind of goodwill tour of Federation Frontier Systems on a spaceship called Starship One, and she jumped and she disappeared. Okay, she jumped and she disappeared, and the starship was gone. Okay, it hyperspaced and didn't come back out again from wherever it was. Ultimately, some wreckage was found, and then her escape pod was also located. Now, when she was brought back, she was in a coma, and she was raving. And she said the following: "It was wonderful, amazing. I saw the universe and our galaxy within it as I'd never seen it before, and I felt the presence of the real caretakers of our galaxy. The paradox of their existence, tiny yet gargantuan, fleeting yet eternal. They spoke to me as I drifted in the void. It was amazing. I must share their message." And then she called them the true architects of creation, and she had been shown the infinities of the cosmos. And some of that information via Galnet led to the discovery of the Guardian sites in the game. Okay, so the Halsey thread seems to have led us to the Guardians, or at least the ruins of the Guardian civilization. So, question mark is when she says, "I felt the presence of the real caretakers." You know, present tense, not as if they were still there. So, there's two possibilities really. You know, one, she was just raving and mad. She had the vision in her delirium. But possibly it was she did experience something genuine, and it could be that some element of the Guardian still exists, or it could be that that sentient AI is still functioning in some form or another. Now, if the sentient AI of the Guardians is still out there, it would have had a million years to do whatever it was going to do. So this is potentially interesting for humanity, because if we're heading in the same direction as the Guardians, you know, the Guardian AI could potentially look at us and go, they're pretty similar to the ones I wiped out before. Maybe I'll wipe them out too. So that would be a concern. So there's all sorts of little threads and stories in Elite Dangerous that might be potentially picked up in the future. So the Guardians were wiped out by their own sentient AI, and it's possible that that sentient AI is still out there doing something. Who are the real caretakers of the galaxy? We don't know. We don't know. All we know is that the Guardians were wiped out by sentient AI, and then after that we lose track of what happened to the sentient AI. So that's, you know, that's an interesting thing. So Halsey, as far as we're aware, is kind of still stuck at the end of that story, really. I'm just looking up the last entry I've got on it, the last thing she talks about is actually Onion Head. She's like concerned that it shouldn't be allowed. You know, so that's kind of finishes up really the Guardian story. They're ancient. They did have a fight with the Thargoids. They beat the Thargoids back, but they didn't manage to defeat their own kind of demons, really, and they let themselves, here it goes again, and they let themselves be destroyed by their own creations. So, you know, Battlestar Galactica, Skynet, all that kind of thing, you know, is still there. Now, the Guardian tech still works. The networks in which those AIs would have kind of existed maybe are still functioning in some form or another. We don't know. Are those AIs asleep? Could we accidentally wake them up? Might they take a dim view of any kind of carbon-based life form like us, dabbling with things we don't understand? So it's quite interesting. You know, the Thargoids are all wrapped up in this as well. So there's this whole thing about the Thargoids have existed throughout all of this stuff. So for whatever reason, the AI, the Guardian AI, never took exception to the Thargoids. The Thargoids are still there. And the Thargoids seem to be the most ancient race that we've encountered. The other thing that's interesting as an observation is that we have effectively 3 races, humanity, Guardians and the Thargoids, within a relatively small part of the galaxy, which kind of gives you a flavour that there might be, or at least there's certainly a possibility that Frontier could put in lots of other races as well across the galaxy. It's a big list. We haven't encountered any yet. The ones that we have encountered are fairly close by in terms of our environment. So who knows what else is out there? Maybe we'll find that out with the new era stuff. But there's lots of potential for storytelling here as to what happens next. What's the true purpose behind the Thargoids, and what's the outcome of, you know, this Guardian story? They were wiped out by their own creations, but those creations may still be around. So who knows, right? Who knows? Lots of potential for storytelling, you see, and I think this is quite fascinating. The Guardians were one of my favourite bits of new lore because I thought they were intriguing, quite scary, because, you know, here's a story of, you know, pride and hubris, isn't it? You think you've got everything sewn up, and then your own creation turns on you. And yes, you can argue it's a bit derivative of BSG or Cylons or all those kind of things, but, you know, it's quite nicely done. And, you know, for their tech to still be working after 1 million years, quite interesting. And yeah, it is a bit frustrating from a storytelling perspective, isn't it? Yet another unsolved mystery. You know, Halsey's vision, the purpose of the Thargoids, you know, the many people who've disappeared, all of the politics and all those kind of things that have come and gone in the Universe Elite Dangerous. Many of these stories haven't been finished. Raxler, as we've talked about, you know, hasn't been addressed either. So there's lots of loose ends there, which interesting. It does it does feel a bit like they got the writers in from Lost. That's quite, yeah. I'm relatively pleased with my, from that perspective, with the one we'll talk about next week, because obviously we're going to go and talk about Salome and the Formidine Rift next week, and then go on the extended tour out there to kind of finish all that sort of stuff off. That's one of the only stories that does actually have a conclusion, I think, where we kind of got to the end of the cycle, because I ended it. So that's quite good fun, but. And we'll talk about that next week, so that's going to be interesting. So anyway, so there we go, my friends. That is the lore of the Guardians. One of the the fascinating extra pieces of lore that's in Elite Dangerous. So I would definitely recommend going to the various different Guardian sites if you want to enhance your ship. The Guardian Fsd Booster definitely gets a thumbs up from me, because it's really rather handy just to increase the range of your ship, I think a rather nice piece of the lore of Elite Dangerous is quite fascinating, with quite a lot of artifacts in it and stuff, and lots of speculation on what that story was about. So yes, so Carriers launches next Tuesday. That should be fun. So if you fancy bringing your carrier along to the Prism system, which is where we're going to be next week, for my final my ultimate lore tour, in the original piece of tour. And we'll talk about the story that I wrote for Elite Dangerous, which is the Salome and the Formidine Rift arc, and talk you through what happened there. And we'll explore a few of the key locations in that story as well. So I will look forward to seeing you there. If you've got a fleet carrier, then you've got it equipped and you've got enough money, then bring it along. It'd be good to see a whole bunch of those in the Prism system. That would be absolutely fabulous. And but otherwise I will see you then. So I'm back tomorrow with my normal little Stellaris stream, if you want to pop across to me on that one. On Saturday there won't be a ZX Spectrum Elite playthrough stream, so I'm as some of you will be aware, I had my 25th wedding anniversary yesterday, and on Saturday at 4 PM I am doing a special Twitch stream, which is me and my wife renewing our wedding vows. So you'll be more than welcome to pop along to that. It'd be great to see you if you want to pop along there. It'll be about an hour long. We're having a bit of a celebration, and because we can't do what we originally were planning to do, we're doing it online, so as many of our friends can kind of join in as possible. So if you'd like to pop along to that, 4 PM on Saturday, you're very welcome to do so. There'll be a little bit of a magic show and some storytelling from some of our friends. My kids are doing some stuff, we're doing some stuff, so and you can raise a virtual glass, in toast to if you so wish, of your favourite dibble, so that would be good fun as well. So we'd love to have you along to that. That would be absolutely amazing, and so you're more than welcome to pop into that stream as well. So and I may be sans hat that day. I'll probably be looking smart in a suit or something, so we'll see how it goes. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate all the well wishing as well. I've had lots of positive comments on Twitter and stuff as well, so that's awesome. But anyway, that's enough for tonight. Thank you. Yes, I'll try and get the Golf GTI fixed as well. But it'd be lovely to see you next week for the final of the main lore tour in the Prism system, where we're talking about Salome and the Formidine Rift. Thank you very much for your company tonight. I hope you found that interesting, a little bit of the tour of the Guardians. Looks like we'll have some more lore to explore in the new era, so maybe we'll start another lore tour in lore tour 2021 in April time, and see what new stuff we've got to explore by that point. So that would be quite good fun. As these are good, these have been good fun, and we're looking at options for what we do at the end of the extended tour as well on this stream, to see where we go with that as well. So there's more stuff coming. There's always more stuff coming. So I'm not going to go offline and disappear, but that'd be lovely. But anyway, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. Hope Friday isn't too cruel and you can get to the weekend all right. Make sure you look after yourselves. Thank you very much for your company this evening. It's really appreciated. Thanks to everybody in game that managed to get into my instance. Thanks to my wing commanders here, Dante, Blaze and Techeron. Thank you for your company there. Thanks for everybody in the SRV who was messing about, and thanks for those who are charging up the Guardian beacon for us, so we can get that demo. That was quite cool to see that on screen. So that was very good. Very good. Enjoyed that. Lots and lots of fun. So you guys take care of yourself. Right on, commanders, and of course 07. Be good, and I shall see you soon.